Orla sat at the corner table of her favorite cafe, her fingers curled around a steaming mug of herbal tea. The chatter in the room was a comforting hum, a symphony of clinking cups and soft conversation. Outside the window, leaves danced in an early autumn breeze, painting the world with splashes of amber and crimson. It was one of those rare moments of peace, the kind that feels like an embrace from a dear friend. Yet as she watched the world pass by, a different story unfolded within those glass panes of the cafe. A sleek car pulled up across the street, its engine purring like a lion. From it emerged a man, impeccably dressed, his watch gleaming in the morning sun like a second sun. His movements were precise, each step a statement. He was the kind of man whose presence demanded attention, whose laughter, though silent from across the street, seemed to echo with arrogance. He walked into an office building, waving dismissively at the doorman who tipped his hat with a submissive nod. This man, Orla knew, was Michael, the new executive in town, known for his ruthlessness dressed as brilliance. She'd heard tales of how he dismissed those under him as easily as one might shake off raindrops from a coat. In his mind, money and power were his unquestioned allies, bestowing upon him the guise of a king. Yet all Orla could see was a facade woven from threads of insecurity, a throne built on shifting sands. Her gaze shifted back to her tea, the warmth flowing into her hands, grounding her. This was not about Michael. It was about a much larger dance. The story of power was as old as the stones, yet always retold, as fresh as spring rain. Every inch of pride held a tarnish, a crack that spread with each boastful step, until it all gave way. As the village outside basked in the golden morning light, Orla remembered another day, not too long ago. She'd been in the company of her grandmother, a sprightly old woman whose wisdom often came in soft murmurs. "True strength is born not from what you hold," she would say, "but from what you freely give. Love, kindness, resilience, these are the stones upon which real power stands firm." Orla saw the truth of this time and time again. She saw it in the gentle eyes of old shopkeepers who lent a helping hand, in single mothers who guarded their family's dignity with grace. Real power was quiet, almost invisible, yet it hummed with intensity and grounded those who yielded to its weightless embrace. But the world, as she knew, often favored a different song, a louder, more chaotic tune driven by those who stitched their identities from conquest and control. Some, like Michael, seemed to rule worlds and lives with the flick of a wrist, and yet Orla sensed the fragility lurking beneath that crafted exterior. Time wove tales she could not yet see, but she knew they were coming. And sure enough, cloudy skies rolled in sooner than anyone expected. The next chapter began on a day drenched in rain, when Michael's unyielding command came to an unexpected halt. The morning started like any other. Cars honked, umbrellas bobbed, and life flowed through the veins of the city. Michael, unchanged in his resolve, marched into his empire with the same confidence he'd always worn. But that day, the universe listened closely, whispering back a song familiar to those who had their ears open. A memo crossed Michael's desk, a simple piece of paper that bore the weight of 1,000 voices. It was from the board, unforeseen losses, shareholders restless. They demanded layoffs, cutbacks, a recalibration of his grand strategies. For the first time in years, the king hesitated. Thunder echoed from the storm outside, whispering truths to come. Power not grounded in love and unity is not power the universe will sustain. Michael felt the cold fingers of fear, a sensation so foreign it was almost unrecognizable. He was, after all, unaccustomed to bowing. Yet the ground beneath him felt slippery, as if his dominion was melting away, the empire he so painstakingly built crumbling like a castle of sand as the tide approached. Orla watched from afar, the city turning into a stage where truth and hypocrisy danced. Her heart ached with empathy, not for his potential fall, but for the emptiness she'd glimpsed in his eyes, the forfeiture of the real treasures life offers. It was then, amidst the storm, that she realized every soul must face the mirror at least once. The air shifted, a calm within the storm, and Orla understood what needed to be done. She could not change his path, yet she could offer a glimpse of a different journey. Perhaps it was naive, the belief that a simple word or gesture might ripple through a hardened heart, yet it was the only gift she had to give. After the rain, Orla approached the office where young executives still buzzed like bees, diligently maintaining the hive. She left, not a note or a lecture, but a book placed quietly on a seat in the break room, something about the enduring power of kindness and gratitude. Michael, alone in his office, picked up the book that had mysteriously appeared. Perhaps curiosity or exhaustion drove him, but he began to read. Word by word, page by page, something ignited within him that he could not name. A gentler power spoke from those pages, words warming a neglected part of his being. And in that there was a turning, a slow, almost imperceptible change, not a grand reformation, but a seed planting deep within his consciousness. Michael's gaze softened, his laughter carried less cruelty. In silent moments he allowed himself reflections, the type where ego dimmed and heart took center stage. Through winter, Orla and Michael's paths occasionally crossed. She saw in him the slow melting of ice, like spring breaking through a frozen river. They exchanged nods, eventually becoming small smiles, gestures of a quiet understanding shared between strangers who had become part of a larger story. The months passed, as they always do, and with them, tides shifted. Michael learned to ground his actions in something more substantial than power's brittle allure. There was no grand proclamation, merely a man transformed by something infinitely greater than himself, a realization that true power lies not in dominion, but in the simple acts of giving without strings, embracing hearts over kingdoms. Orla still visited the cafe, her corner seat welcoming her with warmth and whispered secrets. She knew, as did her grandmother, that the universe held infinite patience for those who chose to listen. Love had become both a guiding star and a gentle blanket that wrapped around her shoulders on cold nights. As the earth turned, life continued its eternal cycle. But the real power, Orla knew, was not measured in accumulated wealth or accolades. It persisted in the choice of one human to see another, to extend a hand across the divides, even if such acts only shifted a single soul at a time. And in that, she found her resolution. For the world was full of forgotten princes and emerging kings, not bound to thrones or crowns, but born from the simplest and truest moments of love.